to the John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you live every morning at 10 o'clock on Wjzz Cool TV. Dr. John Telford is a former Detroit Public Schools superintendent, a former conqueror of Olympic track champions, a championship track coach, poet, newspaper columnist, and author of 8 books available at Amazon.com. Or you can call him at 313-460-8272. 460-8272. A recipient of the Detroit City Council's Spirit of Detroit Award and the Joe Louis Foundation's Spirit of the Champ Award. Dr. Telford was named Wayne State University's Alumnus of the Year, and a Detroit track is named for him. His email address is drjohntelford, EDD, at AOL.com. That's Dr. John Telford, EDD, at AOL.com. He also has a show on WCHB AM 1340 that airs on Saturdays at 9:30 in the morning and Mondays at 6:30 in the evening. That's on Saturdays, 9:30 a.m. and mornings and on Mondays at 6:30 in the evening. Now, without further ado, I present to you that old native Detroiter, the one and only Dr. John Telford. Take it away, Doc.
Thank you, Gloria Cunningham, for that introduction in your most melodious voice. That sound familiar to you? You do that on WCHB all the time. My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Blue salt melts my mid-March snow. Speedy cars and sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salt? No complex chemistry here, only the old color of a new sky. And there's a new sky dawning on Detroit today because Gloria Cunningham and I are interviewing Jerry Bell. Jerry Bell on the John Telford Detroit Show on WJZZ Cool TV. And you know, I'm going to read a poem that reminds me of many of my guests on this show. And this poem also reminds me of Jerry Bell, because I've known Jerry Bell for a long time, and I know this guy very well. And the title of the poem is The Values of Verse. Verse comes to us by pen or voice. We thus can always take our choice. Let me be also sure to mention that verse will gain us righteous vengeance via deft poetic arts that can topple oligarchs. Verse will clearly, plainly lay out what we poets dare to say out, like gentle mewling lambs, no more, but rather with a fearsome roar as from some cacophonic core of lions. And we've got a lion in the studio today in the person of Jerry Bell. So, Jerry, welcome to the John Telford Detroit Show.
Thank you for having me, John.
And tell us a little bit about yourself before we talk about the candidacy that you're going to be launching.
Well, I'm a Detroit, was a Detroit resident, a longtime Detroit resident. I'm now a Warren resident, and I'm running for Warren City Council at large. And it's an honor to be able to run and to.
Well, they need you. They need somebody like you, Jerry, that you will fight for the people.
Yes,
I know that you will do that, knowing you as well as I know you, because I can remember back in the old days. You know, the old days, and I've got old days, and then I got old days, and then I got older days. But in just the old days, when I was in one of my many reincarnations, I was back teaching and coaching at Detroit Southwestern High School for Betty Hines. You know, the great principal Betty Hines. You know, who worked with me in other venues. She was with me at Butzel. junior high school way back in 1967 when I was administrator there. I brought you to talk to my kids
Yes.
at Southwestern High School.
I remember that.
And you were wearing your racing boat uniform, and because for those of you who don't know it, this guy was a hydroplane racer. Won a lot of races, and he also raced in the Detroit River, and that's a whole story in and of itself. Because there was I think he was the only black racer there, and then for a while there was a group that was discriminating and wouldn't let him on there. So we went to Ken Cockrell. And shared. That was when Cockrell was interim mayor, I think he was.
Exactly.
And Cockrell got him on there in about 2 minutes. So, so I go way back with this guy. So Jerry is now running for Detroit. No, I said Detroit. He's running for Warren. He's running for Warren City Council, and it's in an at-large position, as I understand it. And so let me ask you a couple of questions about that.
Okay, before you start,
Okay.
what is an at-large position? I know some people in Detroit. Mary Waters is at-large on
yeah.
the Detroit City Council. So what exactly does that mean in terms of the other members?
Well, excuse me. The other members oversee just the districts in the city of Warren, their respective district. An at-large candidate oversees all the districts, including the whole city. One would probably, it's safe to say that we are, an at-large is sort of like mayor pro tem, so if something was to happen to the actual mayor, to whereas he or she would step down, then the highest vote getter, which would be the at-large member, would be able to step up as mayor. So the difference between last time and this time is that I ran for District 5. So only those residents in that district were able to, vote for me, whereas now all the residents in the city would be able to vote for me. And so that's kind of like a bigger responsibility than it is for just one district.
Oh, okay.
And we're interviewing Jerry Bell on the John Telford Detroit show today. Gloria Cunningham and I are. And if anyone wants to call in and ask Mr. Bell questions, because he is running for city council in the city of Warren, the call-in number is 313-355-6018. That's the call-in number, 313-355-6018. And I usually don't encourage callers to call in on my shows because I like to do my shows my way, and I don't take them at all on WCHB. But if you want to call in today, the number is 313-355-6018 to WJZZ Cool TV. So, Jerry, tell us a little bit about what some of the most important issues are in Warren that you're going to be addressing when you get elected to the city council.
Well, yeah, most importantly, we all hear the candidates speak on parks and roads and things of that nature. We all know that that's a major problem there in the city of Warren, and that's something that I've been speaking about for the past 7 years of being involved in the city of Warren. And now that the other issues would be, like blight. We have some blight issues. We have some issues regarding our downtown, the downtown plan, which we're currently, we basically just kind of with the downtown, the new council, which is going to be our old council, they kind of denied the mayor.
Well, the new council is going to include you. So
yes,
it's
hopefully,
not gonna be totally the old council.
But the old council,
maybe some of the new council, but not. Some of the old council, but not all of the old council.
Right. So we have some issues in terms of, like I say, parks, roads, development. When we think about our south end of Warren, which most consider is the forgotten part of Warren, we know that there's a lot of buildings, empty buildings in the south end of Warren that can be developed, and we can put businesses and things of that nature in those buildings.
Okay, now does the old council share your views on developing these?
Well, I really don't know because they're tied up in a lot of their shenanigans and things of that nature. If we look back on the past 4 years, we can kind of see what all has been done, what all the council has actually gotten done, which is not much.
Yeah, I'm a Detroiter, born and bred, and but I watch what's going on in Warren because I know people in Warren, and I've always been a supporter of Mayor Fouts, and I know that Mayor Fouts, there's a faction that doesn't want him to run again, and they've been trying to do some political machinations to stop that from happening. And that's one of the reasons why I understand Mayor Fouts saw the Free Press article on me, and he wants me to. That was this past Sunday, and he wants me to be at a press conference today after this show.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm more than willing to go there, and I will be there. But how, since they've done this to him, how can he circumvent what they did?
Well, today there's going to be a press conference, which I can't get into the details of.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
That press
Can
conference.
we say where it's going to be, though?
It's going to be at Adiamo's at 1:30.
Adiamo's,
yes.
Andiamo's.
Andiamo's.
Andiamo's at 1:30. Which Andiamo's? Where is
That's going to be the one on 14 in Van Dyke.
14 and Van Dyke.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And that's at 1:30.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. Getting back to your candidacy, tell us about some more of the issues that you.
My first day in office, I'm going straight to work. I know that the residents and I have developed a really good relationship, and they know my work ethic.
Yeah.
I have a very strong work ethic.
Yeah.
After the last election, which I lost by 146 votes, I immediately.
Oh, that was close.
Yeah, I immediately and continued to go to work for the residents, advocating for them.
Sure.
And my first day in office, I really want to touch on our city charter.
Okay.
Our city charter happens to be what is causing a lot of these current lawsuits right now. Back when the charter was put together, it was back in the 50s, because Warren became a city back in the 50s. Okay. And it's that charter is really outdated, and that's why we're running into a lot of problems now. We don't hear of any other candidates talking about the charter. Only thing they're fixated on is the parks and roads, and that's simply because they're not knowledgeable. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them are not knowledgeable because they didn't attend the council sessions as I did for the past 7 years.
Wow.
With the exception of 1 year I was away. I went to every council meeting. I sat there in the front row. I fought and stood side by side with the people, as well as the mayor when he came under attack.
Yeah, I can remember going to a couple of those meetings with you.
Yes, you went. So you've experienced what we've had to deal with, and I just want to be a product and very beneficial to the residents, because I would work for the residents. I don't work for any special interest groups or anything of that nature.
Amen.
You know me, John.
I know you
for years.
very
and
well.
I'm very respectful.
You know, when you don't work for special interest groups, it's hard to accomplish anything, because you're always swimming upstream against the political powers that be.
Yes.
Nobody knows that better than me. I've been doing it my whole damn life. But you know, but you can look in the mirror, Jerry, and so can I. And I'm hopeful, very hopeful this time, and confident that this time the voters of Warren are going to put you on that council.
Okay, freeze right there. Station ID. You're watching the Dr. John Telford Detroit show. streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the whole wide world.
Thank you for that station identification, Ms. Gloria Cunningham, in your most melodious voice. But remember, we are on the John Telford Detroit Show. We're not on the Dr. John Telford Detroit Show. I don't use that doctor, you know. Not on the shows. Folks do, and I appreciate it. But this is the John Telford Detroit Show on WJZZ Cool TV. And we are interviewing Jerry Bell, who is running for an at-large seat in the Warren City Council, on the Warren City Council. So, Jerry, did the mayor endorse you? Did Mayor Fouts endorse you for this seat?
No, what I did this time is I didn't ask for any endorsements from anyone.
Well, you got mine.
Yeah.
But I'm in Detroit, you know, so I don't know how good that is, but
yeah.
I'm going to be talking about you on WCHB, too. So you got my endorsement.
Yeah.
Everybody vote for Jerry Bell, okay?
Yeah.
Because you need him on that council.
Yeah. With respect, I didn't acquire any endorsements from the mayor or from any of the other groups that offered to endorse me.
Now, why was that? I think
I
would have been better.
I wanted to do it on my own.
Okay.
I think that the people respect me for that, and they love me for that, actually. And it was sort of like,
Maybe it's that you didn't want to owe anybody anything?
That too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I wanted to take it upon myself to see what I can do as an individual by myself.
Okay. Is there any way we can turn that thing off? Keeps going ding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of do things by myself here. And
okay.
that's basically how that went.
Okay.
So I didn't acquire any endorsements, but the mayor did praise me at the it was the what did we have? The state of the city. He praised me twice. He said some really nice things, and
You sure should have.
so yeah, so I'm real happy. I just want to do things by myself,
I got you.
running my campaign by myself, and that means a lot. Should I win,
Okay.
it's a major accomplishment.
Well, I think you're going to win. A few years ago, you wouldn't have had any chance at all because of the racial issue. Matter of fact, you know, one of my kids, kid that you and I had at Finney High School the second time I was there, very successful real estate broker, does a lot of free stuff for kids. He's coaching them and teaching them building trades, working in real estate, making a lot of money, and the kids are starting to make a lot of money. And I've had him come and talk to my kids at Frederick Douglass High School. You know, I'm the poet in residence for the Detroit Public Schools Community District now, and I brought him to talk to my kids. I've had him bring his kids to talk to my kids, and I also have brought him around to the high schools when I do my poetry, because I want him to tell the kids in the other high schools about his program so that they can avail themselves of it. And this young man that I'm talking about, who will go unnamed at this point, I'll be talking about him later, but right now he got himself in a little bit of trouble because he's a resident of Detroit, but he happened to be in Warren because he's doing real estate business all over the country, not just in Warren or Detroit. And he saw a white policeman manhandling a black man. So being the good citizen he is, and having the courage that he does, he pulled this white policeman off the black man who he was beating. And unfortunately, you know, Warren has had some trouble in this regard. They've got a police department. Some of them, you know, need to have a little more training in human relations, as this particular cop definitely did. But unfortunately, this young man, whom I had many years ago, back in 2003, at Finney High School, got arrested. So he's going to have a court date, I believe, on the Tuesday, the 22nd of August. And I will be there speaking on his behalf. But this is something that shouldn't have happened.
Yes.
If anything, for what he did, instead of getting arrested, he probably should have a medal pinned on him. But you being an African American running for the city council in the city of Warren, and Warren has a notorious reputation that goes back decades of being a racist city, and I'm just going to say it flat out. How do you propose to combat this particular handicap? Because it's still a handicap. It's not a handicap you can't overcome. But I see it as in this time still a handicap because the African American citizens of the city of Warren are still in a minority there. So, what's your response to that, Jerry?
Well, in regards to the police department, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the current situation, but if that was something that came to my attention when once I'm elected, then I would definitely advocate on this issue. But because it's a legal situation, it's not best for me to respond to that.
Okay.
Because I don't know all the details. But I totally disagree with any abuse coming from a law enforcement officer towards anyone. I don't like that at all. I'm familiar with the complaints. A lot of the complaints that are directed towards the police department.
They're under investigation now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
big time,
Yes.
and they need to be.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't support any abuse coming from any law enforcement officer at all. If I was the mayor, I would launch an investigation or have the police. Well, I would say
Which he has
internal
done.
affairs.
Which he has done, as I
Yes,
understand
yes,
it. Yeah,
yes. To
that's
launch an
good.
investigation, but again, I'm not at liberty to speak on that current situation because
Okay.
I don't know. But in the future, I would advise anyone, if you see a situation involving the police, a police officer, just whip out your camera and do what you got to do, versus even coming in contact with that officer, because you never know, Mr. So-and-so, whoever his name
Yeah,
is.
I'm not going to say his name at this point.
Yeah, I'm not going to say his name neither.
I
but,
will at a later time. But
yeah, but I understand this is how things can escalate, and it has with him in his situation. Just whip out a camera, take some photos or whatever, or take some videos, and turn it into the
Amen.
proper.
Thank God for cameras.
Yeah, because he could have got himself hurt really bad.
Well,
Think about it.
I don't think he would have got himself hurt. This guy's a boxer, and he's always been,
Yeah, but
very.
bullets. Hey, they
I
move
know.
faster.
Yeah. Fists can't do anything against bullets. I can remember. This has been some time ago. I was driving through Warren. I was at the driver's. I was at the wheel, driving through Warren with my lifetime friend and teammate, Cliff Hatcher. Cliff Hatcher.
I remember that.
Well, Cliff Hatcher was the city champion on the quarter mile. Yeah, he ran a 48.8 1951, which was the fastest time in the state for 20 years. And I was driving with him. He was my teammate that won many a race. We won the relays at Ohio and Penn. Anyway, I was with him. He was my friend. We were in each other's houses for 52 years. He passed in 2006, but I was driving with him, and this would have been maybe 1995, somewhere in there, and I was speeding. I was driving a little faster than I should have been because I was in a hurry to get where I was going. And I had a tendency in those days to drive faster than I should have. And Cliff said to me, "John, we're in Warren. I don't want you to get pulled over for speeding with me sitting in your car with my black face. This isn't a place that I feel comfortable if you get stopped by the cops." So I slowed down. That's what he said. Those words came out of his mouth, and it made me stop and think. Oh my God.
Wasn't there a code?
Yeah. There was a code. BPIWAD was the code. Now that you bring that up to me, BPIWAD in Warren. The police had this code, BPIWAD, and it meant black person in Warren after dark.
Okay.
And this, as a matter of fact, was in the evening. I don't recall that it was dark yet, but it was getting there. And he was very nervous at my speeding. And usually, if I were in Detroit, he wouldn't have been nervous. But in Detroit, he was nervous. God rest his soul, you know, the great Cliff Hatcher. But anyway, you got any questions to ask, my lady?
No, not right this second. I've
You-
been
you-
thinking over a few.
Oh, okay. Well, let's. What is Warren's percentage of black residents? Do you have any idea what that
I
percentage?
think now, and I don't always think that the census reports are true. I believe.
You think they undercount?
I think they do.
Okay.
I think they do.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think we have about maybe 18 to 23% minorities in the
Okay.
city of Warren, and the
Not just-
population is growing
Not just
rapidly.
black, all minorities.
Minorities, yes.
Okay.
Bangladeshis, African Americans, Asians. It's growing really rapidly.
Yeah, that's about the same percentage of blacks actually in the country.
Mhm.
You know, so it'd be very similar.
And what are the boundaries? What are just
Well,
some general boundaries?
Most say that most African Americans stay south of 696. I don't
mean,
think so.
what are the streets that surround Warren, basically?
We
to give
have
people
8
an idea.
Mile. It goes from 8 Mile to 14 Mile Road, from DeQuinder to Hayes.
Okay.
Big city,
Okay.
big city. What's the
Third largest city.
Yeah, what's
in
the
state of
what's the
Michigan.
total population?
Oh,
Ever
wow.
know?
139,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
138,000.
Huge city. Yeah,
Yes,
huge
yes.
city.
We have a lot of minorities that live north of Warren. So you hear a lot of folks say, you know, there's hardly any minorities in North Warren. Yes, there are, because I canvass every other day, and I run into them personally. And they're Bangladeshis, they're Asians, they're African Americans. They're everywhere, and they're very acceptive of me. They accept me very well. I gotta say, since I've been out in Warren, I may have had a few encounters of individuals that were racist. And when I mean a few, I mean like 3 or 4, you know, things of that nature. But other than that, they're very helpful. I just want to touch on this. I have a good friend, 2 good friends that stay in Warren. And, well, actually, I have 4. 2 of them work for the city, and the other 2 are just residents that live in Warren. And they do a lot for me. They've always did a lot for me. They've even went as far as giving me a vehicle, an actual vehicle, a nice vehicle. They've helped me out when I've needed the help. And they stay in North Warren, and that's the Baker family. And then, of course, I'm real good friends with the mayor and some of his staff, and they did a lot for me, and I'm very thankful. And they continue to do a lot for not only me, but they continue to do a lot for the people within itself. So I just wanted to recognize them, be it Mayor Fouts, Gus Ganem, Tony, and Dorothy Baker.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
I have 5 boys and 3 girls.
And where are they?
Wow.
My 3 of my boys live in Warren. 2 of them live in East Point. I have 2 daughters that stay in Hamtramck, and I have 1 daughter that stays in Allen Park.
Okay. I only have 2 kids. A young man who's about 10 years older than you, and a young lady who's about 5 years older than you.
Do any of them go to Detroit Public Schools?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, because none of them in
Well, it was 2. I think he said 2 were in Detroit.
East Point.
Oh, East Point.
East Point. Yeah.
I have one that's in college. He plays football. And I have another, well, both play football. One plays for, well, I don't want to say what school, but one plays high school in the nearby city, and the other plays college football.
Oh, great! Wow. Where's he plays college football?
Well, I don't want to say that.
You know? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
election time. They already attacking me and my friends, and so.
Is he a good athlete?
Yes, he's
Yeah.
good. He's good. He did really good. When he was in Roseville, I think he won the highest award, I do believe, that you could win in football there in Roseville before he went to college. And then I have another son that's playing right now, which this is his last year. But they're
Okay.
really good.
We just got a little pause once again. Station ID. You're watching John Telford Detroit Show. Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. There you go.
Thank you, Gloria Cunningham, for those commercials and your melodious voice. And I am holding up my newest book, which I'm trying to advertise. I tell you a little commercial here. This is a book called Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs.
Play on A's, okay? It's an
Yeah,
A-plus
yeah,
book,
yeah,
right?
A and A, alliteration. Activism, Athletes, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit poetic epic. And the athletes part is about all the athletes that I ran against, as an athlete at Northwestern High and Denby High and Wayne State University and the Detroit Track Club and the United States national team and some of the athletes that I coached. And many of the athletes that I teamed with. I mentioned the great Cliff Hatcher. I had some other really great teammates. I had Bullet Billy Smith at Wayne State, ran on a relay team with me that broke several records. I had Pete Petros. We were on a relay team that had the world record in the 880 relay and silver medal in the Nationals at Madison Square Garden. And this book is about those athletes, but it's also about my activism, because I've been a civil rights activist my entire life.
Yes.
So many of the poems in here are about my activism. And then, of course, there are some poems about the ladies that I loved, during my long and checkered life. And that's where the apple boughs part comes in. That's from a quotation from the Welsh poet Dylan Thomas. When I was young and easy under the apple boughs, that's how that poem went. So that's what this book is basically about. It's my second book of poetry. I regard it probably as the better of the two books, the more extensive of the two books. It not only has hundreds of poems in it, but it also has a lot of commentary in it. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in poetry or interested in Detroit, because it's called the Detroit Poetic Epic, to go to Amazon.com, probably the best way to get it. Order the book. And if you want a signed copy, just give me a call at 313-460-8272. And I will make an appointment with you to come and bring the book, and I will sign it. That's 313-460-8272. And I've got some quotation marks, some quotes in this book. Mildred Williams says Dr. Telford's autobiographical verse is evocatively erotic, and he's also a poetic genius. That's Mildred Williams, the coordinator of the Detroit Poets and Authors Society.
Now,
So I wanted to get that little commercial in.
Doc, do you ever include any poems from other great poets that are in the Detroit area, like Reuben?
No,
And
but
that would get them to circulate around, even if it's only maybe 10 in the whole book.
You're
You can
talking
have
about Reuben Porter. No, you're talking
Wilson.
about Reuben Wilson.
Yes,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Reuben Wilson, I quote his poem a lot.
Yeah, he does good-
Fly on the
good
Wall,
work.
that's one of his better poems. And I quote him, but no, there's only one poem in here that's not by me. And it's written in an accolade to this book. And the poem in here that's not by me is by my cardiologist, Dr. Stephen Korotkin. And he wrote a really superb poem. that he wrote just in support of this book. And,
yeah, you can
and,
do a little corner, poets who love me, and do maybe 10
well,
of them.
it's too late for this book.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
you're
know
going to
if
write
I'm-
10 other books,
No, I'm not. I've already written 7 books, and I'm just about out of book writing.
Okay.
I'm almost
Okay.
88 years old. I think I've written my last book. I have one other book that's never been published, The Eye and the Emerald. That's a novel set in 15th century Scotland, which is the home of my father. My father was born in Scotland.
Oh.
And I submitted that book a whole long time ago. Had it sold, my agent had it sold to a paperback company, but my agent said they didn't offer enough money. We're going to try again, and they tried again. Never sold after that. We're talking about the 1970s. That's how long ago I wrote that book. But we are interviewing Jerry Bell today. We're not interviewing me.
Okay,
I was
we'll
interviewing
stop.
myself for a while here, but we're interviewing Jerry Bell. Jerry, talk a little bit more about. Let's see what I got on here, because you sent me some questions. You talked a little bit about what your plans are for if you got elected. What are your plans for South Warren? What are you going to do for that part of the city?
Yeah. Well, once elected, as I said, my first day in office, I'm going to begin to develop a relationship with the new council as well as the mayor, so therefore we can work together to look at the things, what we can do for the south end of Warren in order to develop that Van Dyke corridor. When we drive up Van Dyke, we look at a lot of those empty buildings, and these are buildings where there can be businesses put there.
What's there? What is there now?
Well, there's just a lot of empty buildings. It's very few
Empty buildings.
businesses. Yes,
Buildings
yes,
that went out of business and
That
now
went
just
out of business.
just boarded up.
not boarded up, but there's a lot of businesses that had left.
Okay,
From
and
that
the
Van Dyke
buildings are
corridor
still
area.
viable. They can be
Yes,
saved.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
So I want to begin to work with the new council as well as the mayor to see what we can do to develop that corridor. And not only that, again, that charter
Yeah.
needs to be revised, and that's why we're going through some of the problems that we're going through, or we have went through in terms of the lawsuits between the mayor and the city council.
Yeah. See, that's what I don't understand. You've
it's
had these.
costing us too. It's
Well,
costing
sure,
us.
and you've had these buildings standing there for how many years?
Ooh, a long time.
Yeah, and you have a city council that's just let them stand there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
what is their rationale for that? That they think they're
Well,
decorative, or I mean, what?
Well, what's happening right now? The council is fighting with the mayor because they want to do things their way.
Well, what is
and-
their way? Not doing any developing these buildings that are just standing there. I mean,
Say, for instance, like one of the council members don't think it's a good idea for us to have rental properties.
well, what's their rationalization for that? I mean, that's going to produce revenue for the city. They don't want revenue for the city.
Evidently, they don't.
Well,
We don't understand them. I mean, that's why the people are in an uproar right now about this council.
why don't they just vote them out and get some people in who will,
And we
who will
plan
do
on doing
progressive
that.
things
We
for
plan
the
on
city?
doing that. Right now, we plan on doing that.
Well,
And
you're
so-
if you're listening out there, and I'm going to be sending this to a lot of people via email too. Unfortunately, most of the people I'll be sending it to are Detroiters, but they know people in Warren too. I mean, if you've got a council that's counterproductive to what's beneficial to the city, they need to go. I mean, they goodbye.
This-
And Jerry Bell is gonna lead the charge. So everybody make sure that you spread the word, get Jerry Bell on that council, and he's gonna be the new dynamic force to see some positive change in the city of Warren. We're in the 21st century now. It's time for Warren to get out of the doldrums and where they were back 10, 20, 30 years ago when Cliff Hatcher and I were driving through Warren, in the evening, and he got nervous because I was speeding. This isn't something that should happen anymore. Not that you should be speeding, but you certainly shouldn't be worrying about the fact that you're a black man. BP, what was that? BPIWAD, Black Person in Warren After Dark. And that actually was a code that the police department had in those days.
So if I can kind of rewind a little bit, our mayor, Mayor James Fouts, he has been the only mayor that have ever hired African Americans in the executive, on the executive level. Our city attorney is black. Our communications director is black. Diversity director is black. Our housing director is black. He has did a lot of hiring with minorities, and I think that this council is unhappy with that.
This council
Ethan
needs to
Vincent-
go.
Ethan Vincent, our city attorney, was very much disrespected by this council. Disrespected. I felt so sorry for him, to whereas now he sits in the back of the auditorium. The back of the auditorium instead of up front where he needs to be, conducting the business of the city.
Well, an administration should be reflective of the racial makeup of the city itself. And I would carry it a step farther than that. You know, when I was deputy superintendent in Rochester, I hired a lot of black principals out there, a lot of black directors, a lot of black teachers.
I heard about that.
In a city that was 99% white.
But they got at you.
Oh, did they ever? They shot my house up in the middle of the night. That's a whole long story. But you know,
Wow.
My reason for that was I felt that this community needed to see African Americans in leadership positions, even though it was a 99% white city. But Rochester was not reflective of the world, because the world is not 99% white,
Yes.
and that's why I wanted that to happen out there. But when you have a community that is reflective of blacks in a percentage of 18% or close to it, there is no excuse for not having at least 18% of black employees in leadership positions in the city.
Representation. Yes.
And you're gonna be leading that charge, and Mayor Fouts deserves credit for leading that charge. The mayors who preceded him should be ashamed of themselves for not doing it.
Exactly.
And before I forget, because we're getting kind of close to the end of this show, I have to say this: Miss Virginia Starkey, fondly known simply as V, the proprietress of V's Boutique, offers a wide range of fine clothing and apparel. Fine clothing and accessories, too, for ladies. You can find all sizes of women's fine apparel in V's one-stop excellent customer service at V's Boutique in Detroit.
And
At
I
V's
just
Boutique.
saw her. I just saw her, and she looks fabulous from head to toe.
Yeah, well, she always dresses up. You know, she
yes.
wears her own apparel. You know,
Yeah.
she's her own best advertisement for her show, because
yeah, she looks like a model for sure. So you might not even have to go to the shop. You can just talk to her about what you want. And how
you got to
want
go to the
look.
shop and buy some of that stuff, because
and then you can still buy it over the phone, like people do with Amazon and other places.
Absolutely. And if you ladies want to look fashionable like you never did before, you've got to go to V's Boutique for Ladies, V's one-stop excellent shop. It's a customer service at V's Boutique that you can't find anywhere else in Detroit anymore. V's is at 16423 East Warren. 16423 East Warren, right around the corner from the Alger Theater on East Outer Drive. Right around the corner from the Alger Theater on East Outer Drive, and right around the corner from one of the few libraries that is still open in the
yeah.
city of Detroit, which is a whole other story that we have to address.
Okay, now we can just underline that with the station ID because it's 1:45. You're watching the John Telford Detroit Show live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
And it's not too late for me to ask everyone to get a hold of Lauren Hood. Lauren Hood is the co-chair of the Reparations Task Force in Detroit. And Lauren Hood probably is the last chance for us to get Toino Reeves, brilliant economist Toino Reeves, appointed to that task force, because there's been a kind of an obstructionist co-chair, and I'm not going to mention his name on this show, but they've got to put Toino Reeves on that committee. I mean, come on, Lauren, appoint him. Come on, Mary Sheffield, make sure that he gets on there. Mary Sheffield's a council president, because Toino is he's an economist who's got an idea that's revolutionary. It's so innovative and so simple at the same time, that he needs to be on there working with that task force. He needs to be on their finance committee. So please, President Sheffield, please, co-chair Lauren Hood, get Toino on that committee. So anyway, we are, and I keep digressing, but that's something that I'm very concerned about, being a Detroiter myself and believing in reparations. You know, I called for reparations when I was writing for the Oakland Press and the Observer Eccentric chain, and you wouldn't believe some of the hate mail I got for just those that column. In fact, one of the things they said was, if Telford wants reparations for blacks, let him pay for them himself. But that was the one that was printable. That was a letter that was printable. But anyway, we are interviewing Jerry Bell, who is running for the city council in Warren. He's running for an at-large seat in the city for the city council in Warren, and I understand there's a downtown project.
Yes.
Tell us about that, and are you going to vote for it? What's cooking there?
Oh yeah, I support the downtown project. That's
what is that project?
Well, we're trying to build a downtown there in Warren, Michigan, and
I thought you already had a downtown.
No. The city council put up a blockade. They blocked it. They don't want the downtown simply because the mayor wants it. Again, these are some of the shenanigans.
What's with
that
this
they're
city
pulling.
council? I mean,
They're horrible. They're horrible. Let me give you an example. So one council meeting, I'm sitting in the front row. All the council meetings, I sit right there in the front row. And this one specific council meeting, I came in and there's signs on the seat saying, "Do not sit in the front 2 rows." Well, I'm saying, hold it. What is up with this? This is a public building. It's, I can sit wherever I want to. So I sat in the front row, and they threatened to have me put in jail. So Pat Green...
Sounds like it's something they did to Willie Burton on the police commission.
Similar.
Yeah.
So Pat Green, the council president, called the police and told the police to arrest me. Well, the police told him, I'm not going to arrest him.
Good. Good.
And so before he called the police and he told me he was going to have me arrested if I don't move, 2 other city council members out of 7 actually came down and sat with me in the front row, and a lot of other residents came and sat with me in the front row and said, if you arrest him, you got to arrest me. But the good thing about it is, these were not only Democrats, These were Republicans too.
So there's some hope for some of
Trumpsters
that
sitting
council.
right next to me. I couldn't believe it. I said, "Wow."
Wait.
They said, "Jerry, we're not going to let them do this to you."
You said Republicans. Isn't this
Yeah,
nonpartisan?
they had Trump hats on and everything.
But isn't the council supposed to be
Yeah.
nonpartisan?
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
it was
okay.
people. It was Democrats, Republicans. I mean, you ought to saw them. I even saw a couple of my what I would call the opposition came over and sat in a row with me too,
So there's hope
because
for some of that council.
they wasn't going to let them do that to me.
There's hope for some of that council.
Yeah, you know, the council is horrible. It's 5 of them. We call them the Gang of 5.
Mm-hmm. But
And
there are 2 of them got.
There's 2 of them that.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of them happened to be my opponent I ran against 4 years ago that came and sat with me.
Okay.
So
Wow.
we're pretty cool. Thank you, Councilman Kabasinski and Councilman Ryan Papandrea.
Okay. All right.
So I feel good being
Credit
out
where
there.
credit's due. Credit where credit's due.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm very thankful to have them supporting me. And only thing I can say is that Tuesday, August 8th, come out and vote. Doesn't matter if you vote for Jerry or not. Just
No,
come
it
out
does
and
matter
vote.
if you vote for Jerry. Vote for Jerry. Everybody vote
Yeah,
for
we
Jerry
want
Bell.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you have to say